Mo says, might be unpopular, but the time to trade Deebo is now. How high do you think his value is? Wow. I mean, the only time it would be now to trade him is if you think he's going to have another 5-game season.
Full disclosure, Vish will never have objectivity about this topic, just like Vish didn't have objectivity about Rosen, and full disclosure on the objectivity on Darnold. Deebo Samuel is Vish's favorite player in the NFL, and I say no to trade Deebo.
I think that's fine. Not every fan has to be a GM at heart. You're allowed to like your team and to like the players on the team and to want them to stick around for more than 2 years. I would trade Deebo. We've talked about that. But I get it, Vish. And I think that's cool. Everyone's become a fantasy football manager, you know? It's back in the day, you just were the fan of your favorite quarterback, you know?
Right, but my question is, what Deebo brings to this offense is so unique. And I think he's, other than Kittle, he's the guy that you can see a noticeable difference on every single thing that he does for this offense. Like, what are you going to get trading for Deebo? Okay, you trade him for you trade him for a couple picks. You're going to go into the season with Ayuk and what? Like, what's the plan? How are you going to replace how much he protects your quarterback in the run game, how much he protects your quarterback, how much he helps your run game, all the things he does? The creativity to this offense is unlocked by Deebo Samuel. Remember, I had that like 7-week, we did that topic on who's the most important player on the Niners offense, and I kept saying it's Deebo Samuel. I still believe it's Deebo Samuel. So sure, trade him. What are you going to get? Okay, you get a pick. What are you going to use that pick for?
Well, again, the problem with committing to Deebo is, first of all, he's had injuries. He plays a physical style. Hamstring injuries are scary. He's had them since college. He is very good. If he plays 16 games next year, he could go for 1,400 yards. He could get 18, 19 million a season. He could be he will be more expensive than George Kittle if he stays healthy and puts up the numbers he's capable of. And so then you should start making the same calculations you make with Nick Bosa. It's like, okay,
right.
Do I want to do this? I know he's really good, but the injuries and the price, that's it. I'm not saying he's not good.
But my thing is, if you trade Deebo today and you're thinking about the price, then you're probably not thinking that you're going to win. Yeah.
But what Dude is saying is, I mean, if he proves to be an injury-prone player, you're actually not selling low. You're salvaging what you can get. I think he can put together one healthy season before he gets his second contract. Players seem to figure out a way to do that.
I think for Deebo,
that contract year, they
play through it. But I think what really hurt Deebo was he hurt his foot, right? Because he was working out hard in Houston. They were talking about how hard he was working out. He hurt his foot. I think he sat for a while. Then he came back. And I think as he was getting himself in football shape, it was just in and out of injuries. And Kyle Shanahan seemed to indicate in that final press conference that he expects more from Deebo in terms of taking care of his body. Maybe that he thought that Deebo could have done a couple things to prevent it. So,
well, yeah, I mean, he has his excuses, and there were an unfortunate series of events from this year. But the fact of the matter is, it's not the first hamstring injury he's had. He now needs to make sure it never happens again. That's his job. So we'll see. We'll see. And if he does figure that out, what a player he's going to be. District 13 swears that he was all over Tom Brady. Hey, I believe you, man. I definitely believe you, and I respect you. So fair play. Good one. I'm not taking shots. Mark Lamar says, what?
You might have been on your burner then, so you might not have seen it.
It's not. Yeah, I might possible. It's not Deebo's fault. Kyle has to use him like he does to help a quarterback who's on a leash. It's true.
Yeah, 100%. But I would make the argument, like, I think that is a thing, and I think that I've always talked about it, that I think that there's so much to Deebo's game that hasn't been unlocked. But quarterback or not, that's not going to change the fact that Deebo Samuel is going to run into the next defender like a brick wall, and he's going to be making cuts at 100 miles an hour. Like, those things are going to happen regardless of who's the quarterback. So Deebo is not going to protect himself on the field regardless. I do think it'll help by not being used only behind the line of scrimmage, and he has a skill set to go beyond that. But let's not kid ourselves and say Deebo is all of a sudden going to be this AJ Green type that's going to run out of bounds after making a catch or something like that.
What Coach Noah Johnson and I have talked about, you know, Coach, he's clever, and what we were talking about is basically what Pittsburgh does. Like, they draft a wide receiver in round 2 or round 3 every year, and they usually don't re-sign their wide receivers, and they're like, we'll develop them, and we'll keep drafting, and we'll let them go, and we'll figure that our Hall of Fame quarterback will make them look a little bit better and they'll be replaceable. That's basically the idea here, is that you don't necessarily want to spend big money on wide receivers.
And the thing with Pittsburgh is usually when they let them walk, nobody says anything, because when you let Mike Wallace walk, you had Emmanuel Sanders and Antonio Brown. And when you let Emmanuel Sanders walk, you had Martavis Bryant. And when you let Martavis Bryant walk, you had Juju Smith-Schuster. So they've always had this running kind of thing. I think this is the first year where even if you don't re-sign Juju, I think people would still be okay with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. So I do think there's something to that. But I think when they got the star in Antonio Brown, they gave him the money. So we'll see if one of
and it was a mistake. I wonder if they regret it too. Because Ryan Clark has talk about, like, he's like, give him this money, you're gonna create a monster.
Right.
It's not. We talked about that. Yeah, it's true. It'd be interesting to see if they could get Deebo to be more than just, because again, they do use him as a running back, and you want to give someone who's used like a running back wide receiver money. No, he's gonna break down. But if you get a quarterback who's like closer to Ben Roethlisberger than Jimmy Garoppolo, all of a sudden, yes, that's the big thing.
Not this year, Ben.
That Pittsburgh figured out is like, yeah, man, you know what helps a wide receiver develop? A Hall of Fame quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
And a Hall of Fame quarterback who's the ultimate receiver-friendly quarterback in terms of standing in the pocket forever and willing to make any type of throw, right?
Yeah. Go do a triple move. Go run an out, up, and in and out, and then a post. And I'll wait for you, buddy. And so you have these like deep threats who run 4.55, like Antonio Brown. Anyway, I never felt he got enough credit for Antonio Brown's
no, 100%. I mean, he should have gotten more credit for Mike Wallace.
Agree. All right, Vish. I think I'm gonna let you go. We're getting up on 2 hours. You're very generous to come on and
you got
give me
one
all this
more
time. Do I?
13, yeah.
Oh man, District 13. Oh, my bad. Washington's Taylor Heineke, who was a free agent for cheap, gave Brady a harder time in the playoffs than Mahomes, getting paid $50 million a year.
Quarterback wins.
Hey, no, you're right. You're right. And the thing about Washington is that defense is crazy good. But Taylor Heineke competed his ass off in that game for nobody. I don't know who that guy is. So I'm not really interested in getting Taylor Heineke, but cool. I'm interested. I mean, I'm not writing him off. I like him for a backup.
He's got a little Baker to him, right? With the moxie, the confidence.
Yeah. And I felt like I felt like the Rams were kind of hoping that Wolford would have that kind of a effect. And Wolford got himself knocked out of that game in like 5 minutes. Yeah. And Heineke didn't. Give him credit. The dude competed and stayed in there.
Remember? He went and got himself taped up because they didn't have a quarterback behind him, and he came back and he was slinging it. It was a cool story, but I think that's all it is. I don't think it's
I think so too. I do think of the cool story guys in the NFL, he's interesting because compare him to a guy like Gardner Minshew, he can move. He can move a little bit for a little. That's cool. So I hope his where did he go to college, man? Who is he? Where do you get a name like that?
I know.
Who does he think he is?
He thinks he's like Gardner Minshew. That's who he thinks he is.
Pretty much.